Hi everybody, Stacy here, and this video is going to be on Mosaic candle. I had a video in either October or November, I don't remember, but I will put a link for it right up here that showed the Mosaic candles that myself and my mom had made and our different patterns and color schemes. So just click on the link if you want to see the Mosaic candles, but this video will be on how to make one, which is a two-step process. The first step being tiling your piece of glass that you want as your candle holder. This is mine for the video today, and so your first step is going to be that, and then your second part of the video is going to be grouting. So the tiling you will do on day one, and then you'll have to wait for a day for the glue to really set and really dry to start your grouting.
For this Mosaic candle project, you will need the glass that you intend on using for your candle holder, the tiles that you're going to use, a pair of scissors, because if you have plastic tiles, then sometimes you will have an excess piece of plastic that you need to cut, a silicone-based glue. If your tiles are clear, like mine are, then you would want a silicone that dries clear, otherwise it would not matter. And for the grouting process, you will need, of course, your grout, a disposable cup and stirrer, a pair of gloves, and a sponge to wipe off the excess grout.
The tiles that I am using today are tiles that are from a brand called Clearly Mosaic, which unfortunately we are unable to find now. My mom, whenever she realized that she was having a harder time finding the Clearly Mosaic tiles, which they're all plastic, whenever she found out that she was having a hard time to find those, she kind of stocked up on a bunch, and so that way she has her own stock, and that's what I'm going to be using for the video today, which they come, like all of these are squares, they have triangles, they have different shaped ones that are meant to look like they were broken off of a piece of glass. They have round ones, teardrop ones, here's some clear ones. They have a few that are mirrored. Here's a different kind too, where it's more of a frosted look rather than a clear. And then they have solids, which you would only be able to see the light through the white ones on this one. I was able to find some similar tiles at Hobby Lobby that are clear. Mostly what you can find now are not clear, they're going to be solid, because what is popular right now is to make mosaic stepping stones and things like that rather than mosaic candle holders. So your best candle holder will be with the clear tile, which I did find a couple at Hobby Lobby, but they are larger tiles than what I'm using today in this video. So your candle holder that you use if you go and get those tiles at Hobby Lobby will probably need to be much larger than this one, so that way the larger tile will lay flat.
The very first thing that I'm going to do is look at my piece of glass here. If your piece is completely a cylinder, then you wouldn't have to worry as much about the distance between tiles. And if you wanted to do, like if you had a piece of glass like the shape of mine and you wanted to do a pattern that went all the way around, you'd probably want to do it in this area and then just fill in the other areas for just the coverage of it. An easy one to do is if you have squares and triangles, then you can do diagonal. You can see all those little extra pieces of plastic that I was talking about that are on the edge, which is what you would use your scissors for. Let's get a different color here. So you could do these patterns on the diagonal and then put some triangles in there. Just kind of play around with it and come up with a pattern that you like. And then you can slide your paper over to the side and start gluing your tiles on the glass in the pattern that you chose. This helps you just kind of visualize it and what it will look like. And for these smaller pieces, you probably don't want more than, you definitely don't want 1/4 of an inch space or more. So you want to keep the spaces in between them smaller. But this is the fun part. This is the creative part. So I'm just gonna continue to play around a little bit and find the pattern that I want to do, and then I'll come back on the video. Although I really love how pretty the green color is on the white paper, I think that I'm going to choose this pattern to kind of go with this project, which would be really good too because of the shape of my glass. This area in here where we start getting larger spaces, I can put towards the bottom of my glass, and that way it squeezes those spaces to be smaller because the glass is getting smaller towards that area as well. I might change up the color just a tad bit, but I think that this is the pattern I'm going to go with for this video. If you had pieces that were not a specific shape, that were meant to look like broken glass, then you would not be able to specifically do a pattern, but you would still want to put them closer together, have minimal space between the pieces, and with pieces that are like this, you have a more authentic look to your candle holder. Okay, so we have our adhesive here. Come on. Ah, there we go. It's working. Okay, so I'm going to start, I think, with the blue ones. Any excess plastic that's on the outside of them, I'm just going to cut off with the scissors. Just to make it a smooth edge there. I'm going to place the silicone onto the back of the tile, and you want to kind of spread it around on there and get enough so that whenever you place it on the glass, let's put it up here in this area. Whenever you place it on the glass, it goes to the outer edges and covers the entire bottom of the tile. The reason that you want it to cover the entire bottom of the tile is because whenever you get to the point where you're grouting, just gonna remove that. And it can be messy on this part because you're just gonna cover it with grout. So whenever you get to the point where you're grouting,
that grout does not go underneath the edges of the tile, and then you're unable to see the entire tile once your candlelight starts to shine through. So you want the silicone to go all the way to the edges of each tile, so that way your grout can't get underneath there. So I'm just going to continue with this, and I'll speed it up so you don't have to watch the entire thing. But I'm going to go with this pattern that I have here. I might change one or two of the colors, I don't know, but we'll just see how it turns out.
You can see I have the entire area that I had planned out on the paper glued now onto the candle holder. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to pull this around the entire thing. One of the reasons that you want to do this first step in one day is so that if your pattern going around does not match up on the edge once you go all the way around, then you can move the tiles still because your silicone is still not dry. So you can still move them slightly. You can see I'm moving that one there. So that's the reason that you want to do this first step all in one day. I'm just going to continue to do my pattern all the way around.
I made it all the way around with the top part of my pattern, all the way around. And you can see here where I connected, we have some that are closer together right in there, and then some that are further apart right in there. So I'm just gonna adjust them and move them so that way they aren't quite as spread out here, and they aren't quite as close here. So there's the top part of the pattern done. Now I'm going to do this bottom part of the pattern, and I'm going to put something below here just to fill in the space, which I don't think that I'm going to do more yellow unless I'm at the very, very bottom. But I think I need some more orange, so maybe I'll do some orange down here. And here we have it, our finished piece. And let me take that out. I just put that in there so you can see it better. So day one is done, and now we're just going to wait until tomorrow for the silicone to dry completely, so that way we can do the grout tomorrow. And I do have white grout for this one, so it would look very similar to what it looked like when the bag was inside of it. We're just going to put it down like that and let it dry overnight. Okay guys, so here we are. This is day 2. So our silicone has dried on the candle holder, and we're about to mix some grout. So in here we have water, and the grout that I showed yesterday is actually, we didn't realize, but it's black. So we got some other white grout that we had previous, because the white will probably look better on here than the black. So on your instructions it'll say to not let the grout go down the drain for obvious reasons. So we're outside. But you can follow the mixing instructions that are on your grout.
Are we ready?
Mm-hmm. So she's just stirring in some water with the grout. Getting the right consistency, you just add water slowly.
True. Get it too loose and you can add some more powder. If you get it too dry, you can add some more water. It's been a long time since I've done this. I don't know if I know what consistency to make it or not. It doesn't take much water, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think on the bucket it said 3
1 to 3.
parts grout to 1 part water.
Yeah.
So not a whole lot of water. This is my coffee mug. Some days I'm a princess, some days I'm a warrior.
A warrior princess, why not be both? To take the time to mix, sometimes it dries out, especially if it's outside like we are. But we will deal with it.
I had to cover up my pretty nails with gloves.
Now your nails are pretty, I do like.
Ooh. Wind. So what would you compare the consistency?
Well, it's not as thin as pancake batter. I don't know if anybody's ever dealt with cement mixing, but this is what it looks like.
Let me
So,
see.
You want to stir in it so you'll know?
It's kind of like a Frosty from
Maybe.
Wendy's.
Maybe.
Okay. Like a Frosty from Wendy's type consistency.
All right. Take it in your fingers. Always put my hand up in the jar so I can turn it as I go. And you just mash it into the grooves. And you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on to it. If you drop it, you're dead. Not dead, but it's not good. Make sure you get it in all the spaces.
So what if you get on it like that?
It'll wash off. When we wash the excess off, it'll wash off. It says to let it sit for 10 minutes. But now that depends on how thick your grout is. You may have to wait longer or less. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can kind of see what it will be. Kind of slathering it on.
Pushing it into the grooves.
Just making sure it gets in every space.
Yeah.
At this point.
Every space. You need to go back down to the bottom. That's the hardest part, is trying to get it in the bottom ones. Oh, I think we got about the right amount of grout. Looks like I don't think I've need to make any more.
Which we had about 3, maybe half to 3/4 of that cup full.
Yeah.
For this size of a piece. So now we're gonna wait 10 minutes and we're gonna get a tub with some water in it so we can dip our sponge into the tub and get water in 10 minutes. We've waited 10 minutes, that's what it looks like, and now we're gonna start wiping off grout.
Get the top edge of it first. Where
You don't need to hold it.
where it gets too dry, which it's got to be over the bucket.
Okay.
stand up before I drop this down in here. Yeah, you can see it better standing up than I can sitting down.
If you're doing this inside, you'll probably want to have a towel down.
Yeah, or you could put your bucket in the sink and then it wouldn't get anywhere. Coming around. Don't you like this much better than the black? With all the bright colors. The black, when there's a candle in it, doesn't really matter what color the grout is, because all you're going to see is the colors coming through. But to look at it in the daylight, it just looks so much better with a lighter grout than black. It just does.
Alright, so it has gotten extremely windy out here, so I'm going to try to finish this up before I blow away. And it's been about an hour and a half. We left this out in the sun, and because it's windy, it's completely dry now. You might see that there's a little bit of grout residue on top of the tiles. Well, I'm just taking a damp, wet sponge and wiping that off. And because the grout is dry, it will not wipe off the grout that's in between the tiles, only the stuff that's on top. See now how it's shinier? So it's just, think of it kind of like you're buffing it. You see how it's cloudy with the grout on top of it? Well, now it's shiny. So that's all I'm doing is just wiping off the top of the tiles with a damp sponge. You don't need it extremely wet. You don't want it extremely wet because then it will do more damage. And now our candle holder is completely done. You can see with the sun kind of how it will look with a candle inside of it, but I am going to show you how it'll look with the candle anyway. See you inside.